Yo, what is going on, YouTube? It is Hey Arvy, and oh boy, we got a busted open video here. The title of the video is Why Cody Rhodes and CM Punk Are Better Off at WWE versus AEW. Oh, this is going to stir up the Hornet's Nest big time. Big time. So interesting what's really interesting is that these two could actually headline WrestleMania. I mean, how crazy would that be? I mean, would that be 3 years in a row that Cody Rhodes is the headliner of WrestleMania? I mean, you can't take that away from him. And what do you think he'd be doing right now in AEW? Look at what's going on over there. And their fans are delusional. You can't even have a normal civilized conversation without being called a WWE lifer. It's like, dude, no. I watch every AEW pay-per-view. I was so behind this promotion from the get-go, and they are the ones who pushed me away. So, anyway, huge shout out to the supporters. Here we go.
Imagine Tony Khan watching WrestleMania and seeing the main event of is Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. Oh my God.
Dave, I have to be honest. When they were standing in the ring, within seconds, it's the first thing that popped into my
dude, absolutely
mind. And I almost tweeted it last night. I didn't want to be a dick, to be quite honest, on social media. But I'm going to say it right now. I'm just going to give you my train of thought. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm really not. But here is the thought that went through my mind. The two guys that were standing in the ring at the end of last night's Raw on Netflix is the reason AEW is where they are now.
100%.
I can't disagree with you.
Like I didn't want to tweet it because I didn't want it to come wrong.
When CM Punk returned, how many people watched that video on YouTube? What was it, 60 million?
Come across
it's a dick move. It would have been a dick move. I agree with you.
Saying it on the air, I think is a little bit different because I need people to understand where I was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to be honest with you, and again, it's because of all the talk that we have here on Busted Open. It's our lives every day. That's one of the first things I thought of too.
For reals?
Yes, it really was.
Oh,
I was like, because how can you not?
Too.
I mean, it's kind of like, we're approaching.
How can
Super
you not,
Bowl.
dude?
So imagine, the two head coaches that are in the Super Bowl used to head coach your team. Like at some point, just like, I'm a Cowboy fan. Imagine if the Eagles head coach and the Chiefs head coach at one point were the Cowboys head coach. How is Jerry Jones going to watch the Super Bowl and not think, my God, I had both these head coaches on my team?
I mean, think about the Giants right now who gave up Saquon Barkley. I mean, look what they did. I mean, they just released him, right? They didn't trade him. They didn't get anything in return. And look at what he's doing. He could win the Super Bowl MVP easily.
And I let them go, and now they're both head coaching in the Super Bowl. If we get Cody Rhodes and CM Punk in front of 80,000 fans in Vegas for WrestleMania 41, how is your mind not going to go to the fact that, 3.5 years ago, both these guys were wrestling in AEW? And how big AEW was when Cody started that company, and he's one of the founding fathers of that company, and how you thought of AEW when Cody was at top, and then how big AEW was when CM Punk came back and CM Punk was at top. And then, by the way, you also have to throw out, Bully, that on their way out, the AEW fans were booing Cody Rhodes and CM Punk.
True.
When I look at the situation and I compare the two, I have to ask myself, why does the relationship with the WWE and Cody work? And why does the relationship with the WWE and Punk work, but it didn't work in AEW? And it all goes back to Tony. Everything goes back to Tony, just the same way everything would go back to Vince or Paul Heyman or anybody else who owned and ran a company. Now, when I say it goes back to Tony, I'm not saying this in a malicious way. With Tony, it comes down to how to manage personalities. And Tony never had experience in managing wrestling personalities. This is Tony's first foray into anything pro wrestling that didn't involve him being a fantasy booker on the internet or any of the stuff that he did growing up as a hobby.
He's right. And if you take one look at Tony Khan and you just look at him, I mean, he's not a business guy at all. In any way, he's a mark. He is a rich billionaire mark. That's what he is. That's exactly what he is, dude. Fantasy booking, 100%.
This is real life, real deal stuff. And a relationship between a wrestler and a booker, a wrestler and an owner is very unique. That's why Vince McMahon used to encourage his talent to form a relationship with him. Force me to have a relationship with you. Vince was never going to go out of his way to make a relationship with you because he just couldn't do that. He can't do that. But he wanted you to force or make a relationship with him. Tony's relationships with Cody
that's interesting.
and Punk based on personality just didn't work for a variety of reasons. Cody was the brains of AEW. When it comes to the pro wrestling business, Cody Rhodes was the brains of AEW. And I will debate anybody on that.
I mean, of course he was. Look at who his dad was. Of course he was the brains. Look who his dad was.
And I'm not just saying it, it's the truth. Cody knew what the hell he was doing, and he had a vision for that company when it came to the creativity and the overall perception of what that pro wrestling company should be. Tony did not agree.
Right.
Punk, a very unique personality. A personality that needs to be massaged.
Are you going to tell me that CM Punk and MJF's program, or whatever you want to call it, wasn't amazing?
At times. Maybe sometimes handled with good gloves. Maybe not be sold a bill of goods. Whatever it is. I'm not saying that that is anything that Tony did. But obviously, Tony could not make the relationship with Punk work out. When I take a look at my bosses in the past, a Paul Heyman, a Vince McMahon, I'm just going to use those two. Paul dealt with some of the most, what's the word I'm looking for here, Dave?
Insane.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Paul dealt with a lot of personalities.
Colorful.
You know, I'm just going to use Taz as an example. Taz back in the day, he was difficult to handle and deal with. Sabu was difficult and handled to deal with. Maybe we were all difficult to deal with because we each had unique personalities and we had a certain freedom that nobody.
And what's crazy is that you put all of that on one person. That's one person that's got to deal with all those different personalities. That's a lot.
Else got to experience in pro wrestling, and sometimes that freedom went too far. And Paul had to find a way to massage all of these personalities and give Taz what he wanted, and Sabu what he wanted, and Shane Douglas. How did all of that? And ECW was volatile personalities, combustible at any time. But he found a way. Vince McMahon, same thing. How did Vince McMahon make anything come together in the WWE? He knows how to deal with people. You could say a bunch of negative things about Paul and a bunch of negative things about Vince, but they knew how to handle personalities, deal with personalities, larger than life personalities, egomaniacs, shy people that wouldn't come out of their shell. Jim Ross was an expert at it also, because JR just treated everybody the same way. Here's how it's going to be. It's going to be the same way for you as the opening match and you as the main eventer. It comes down to how people work with one another and personalities. Me and you have a certain relationship. You and Tommy have a certain relationship. You and Mark have a certain relationship. I guarantee you that if you tried to relate to me the same way you relate to Mark or Tommy, it would not work.
It would fail.
Because we have something special and unique. Is it more special and unique than what you have with those guys? No, but it's special and unique onto us. I don't believe Tony has gotten there yet, and it'd be impossible for him to get there when it comes to dealing with all of these special and unique.
He doesn't want to do that.
Personalities. And
he clearly doesn't want to do that.
Why CM Punk and Cody Rhodes are in the middle of a WWE ring.
Yeah, and Bully, I think more than anything I've ever heard about an analyzation of AEW, I don't think anything is better than what you just said the last 10 minutes, because I think it's 100% true. Sometimes when you're dealing with people, you have to know how to relate to that person first before anything else. Like you just said, you're different. Here on Busted Open, Monday through Friday, I work with you, I work with Tommy, I work with Mark, I work with Thunder Rosa, I work with Nick Nemeth. It's a lot of different personalities to have to juggle. And the way I come at you on a Tuesday is going to be completely different than the way I come at Tommy on a Wednesday or Thunder Rosa or Nick on a Thursday. It's different. Being a good manager and knowing how to deal with talent, you have to understand that. It's not about how you feel. It's getting the best out of your talent. Well, how do I do that? How do I get the best out of Bully Ray? How do I get the best out of Tommy? How do I get the best out of Mark? And it's a struggle to be able to do that. Your way is not always going to be the right way, and sometimes you have to take a step back, and sometimes you have to swallow your pride. I believe that Tony Khan is extremely good with numbers. He's very good with numbers. I think he deals with that with what he does with the NFL. But
right, and you know, I said this on Twitter, if Tony Khan has anything to do with the Jaguars, that is why they're the laughing stock of the NFL. Like that explains a lot. That explains a lot. That explains everything.
Numbers are cold. Human beings are not. You have to know how to deal with those human beings. And when you have somebody like the talent of Cody Rhodes, you do whatever you can to make sure that Cody Rhodes feels comfortable, feels like he's home, and wants to be with you so that he'll run through a wall for you. But he also knows that you're going to run through a wall for him. That's how a relationship works. Cody Rhodes is much different than CM Punk. CM Punk, you're right. CM Punk's a little bit different. But that's okay. You, as a manager, have to learn how to deal with that, because CM Punk in your company is gold.
CM Punk is blue, Cody Rhodes is red, you have to be the chameleon as the boss. You have
That's
to be you have to be blue when talking to Punk. You have to be red when talking to Cody. You have to be able to change your colors. You have to be able to change your personalities.
You know, and that's very hard to do, by the way. That's extremely hard and takes a lot of effort because you have to actually invest who you're speaking to in front of and who they are, and you have to take that into consideration. That's hard to do. That's not easy to do. And then do that with 300 people? Sheesh.
Paul Heyman dealt completely different. Dealt with Bubba and Dreamer and Taz completely different than he dealt with Sabu, Sandman, and RVD. Considerably different relationships. But I'll be damned if he did not bring out the best in all of us. Dave, I told you that one story, and I'll share it real quick. I had a match with Eddie Guerrero one night that I thought was great. Pat Patterson thought it was great. Eddie hated it. And I found myself in a room sitting across from Vince McMahon, Eddie Guerrero, and Michael Hayes. And there I am, all by my lonesome on the other side of the room. It's like I was before a firing squad. Mind you, I was on cloud 9, elated, because I just had a really good match with Eddie Guerrero. I was excited. I was proud. And now they're about to rain down on me with anger and frustration, and I didn't get it. Eddie wasn't happy. And Vince said to me, what went wrong out there? And I thought about it real quick, and I said, Vince, as a company, we did not do a good enough job of getting Eddie over. Dave, he looked at me with fucking daggers. But all he could do was agree, because I put the responsibility on me, him, and Michael Hayes as the agent. We did not do a good enough job. And he looked at me and he said, Bubba, good answer.
You have to take responsibility. All right, something is going wrong here. It's gone awry. Whether it's dealing with Cody or with the Punk, with the Jack Perry, or whatever it was. It's not about Jack Perry.
Why? I mean, dude, when they released the tape and it was a big nothing burger, I think they lost all credibility, in my opinion.
And it's not about CM Punk. It's about you as the head of this company getting between that and fixing it.
And as someone who doesn't watch their program regularly, it seems as if the inmates are running the asylum, and this is late 90s WCW NWO all over again.
Before it erupts to the point where it's where it did, to the point where you get to the point of no return. And CM Punk, in the biggest show of your entire company, and probably will go down as the biggest show in the company's history, CM Punk quit and walked out.
This conversation we're having now is completely organic. We did not plan on talking about this, but I'll be damned if that wasn't the first thought that went through my head when I saw those guys in the ring last night. And like I said, I didn't want to tweet about it. I knew I might mention it. And then you're saying you thought the exact same thing.
I did.
That's what opens up the discussion.
How can you not? How can you not, Bully? How can you not? Because I think you could say, without hesitation, that the two most popular wrestlers in the WWE are CM Punk and Cody Rhodes.
They're in the top 3, right, with Roman.
But I think I would even put Punk and Cody. Popularity-wise, I put CM Punk and Cody Rhodes over Roman.
Fair enough. That's fine. We can sit here. There's no reason to even discuss it. Yes, they're amongst the most popular, top of the food chain 1%ers.
And after what you saw last night, I think everybody in that arena and everybody watching on TV wants that to be the main event of WrestleMania 41.
And just because you throw ungodly amounts of money at people doesn't mean that you have been educated or you have learned how to use them properly in the wrestling business. Hunter has. Michael Hayes has. That team has. How did they learn this? Let's look at who they learned from. They learned from Vince McMahon. They learned from Pat Patterson, from JR, from Blackjack Lanza, from Jerry Briscoe, yada frickin' yada.
When you see two people that were with your company now possibly main eventing WrestleMania in front of 80,000 fans.
It's got to make you sick.
And then you take two wrestlers that main evented WrestleMania and are now on your show and not getting a reaction. Somebody has to.
Great point.
Take the blame.
Great point.
And one last thing. Look at what is going on with Penta right now. Exactly what we're just talking about. How do you deal with a character, a personality, or something? That's what you're seeing with Penta right now. The WWE is going to take the time to understand Penta a lot more, get into him a lot more. What makes him tick? How do we get the most value out of this? As opposed to, go ahead, here's a match. Go don't do a bunch of flippy shit. And that's what you got in AEW with him. This is why I would absolutely love, and I say this with the best intentions, and I'm being so genuine when I say this. Like, I hope and pray one day Kenny Omega gets to experience what it's like to be in the WWE and truly reach his potential.
Wow. That's a big statement. Well, you made it this far. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.